You know that translation app on your phone? Ever stop to think how it went from being, well, kind of useless and spitting out gibberish to actually getting what you mean? It's been a massive shift, a real revolution. We've gone from just swapping words to using AI that genuinely tries to understand. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how that happened. All right, here's our roadmap. We'll kick things off with the old way of doing things, then trace the long road to real AI. We'll look at the huge neural breakthrough that changed the game, talk about the attention revolution, and then see where we are today and what challenges are still ahead. Finally, we'll talk about that powerful AI living right in your pocket. So, to really get how amazing today's translation AI is, you first have to see why the old methods were, well, so bad. It all boils down to a single simple truth. Language isn't just a list of words, not even close. This quote really says it all. The old school apps were basically just a digital dictionary. They'd see a word, look up its equivalent, and swap it in. But we all know that's not how language works, right? Real communication is all about context, nuance, and the stuff that isn't said out loud. And that's exactly what modern AI is trying to figure out. And man, the difference is night and day. On one side, you've got that clunky word-for-word replacement that sounds robotic and often makes no sense. On the other side, you've got an AI that's aware of the whole sentence, aiming for something that sounds like a real person said it, and it can even get its head around things like idioms. So let's use a super classic example to show what we mean. What does a simple word-swapping machine do when it sees an idiom like, "it's raining cats and dogs"? Well, this is what happens. A literal translation is just totally confused. It would actually tell you that animals are falling out of the sky. The real meaning, that it's raining super hard, has absolutely nothing to do with the individual words. The meaning is hidden in our culture, and the old machines just couldn't see it. And it's not just about weather idioms. This lack of cultural awareness can lead to some pretty hilarious misunderstandings. Take this example from just a few years ago. GPT-2 heard the word cougar and took it literally, thinking of the animal. It completely missed the slang meaning. It just goes to show how much meaning is buried under the surface of our words. So, how in the world did we get from these confused chatbots to the powerful translators we use today? Well, it definitely didn't happen overnight. We're talking about a journey that's been going on for about 70 years. This timeline really lays it all out. Way back in the 50s, people were hand-coding grammar rules for computers. Super clunky. Then, in the 90s, we got smarter with statistics, letting computers learn from huge amounts of text. A big step up, but it still sounded off. But then 2016 happened. That was the earthquake. That's when neural machine translation came along and changed everything, setting the stage for the crazy powerful models we have now. Okay, so let's talk about that big earthquake moment. Neural machine translation, or NMT. Around 2016, this was the single biggest jump in translation quality maybe ever. It's when AI stopped thinking in words and started thinking in sentences. So instead of dicing a sentence up into little pieces like the old systems did, NMT models are built to read the whole thing at once as a single idea. This is huge because it means they can finally grasp the context and create translations that flow like natural speech. The way it works is actually pretty cool. First, the AI just reads a lot. It reads millions of sentences to learn the patterns. Then it turns words into numbers, we call them vectors, so that similar words are numerically close. Step 3, an encoder reads the whole sentence and squishes it down into a summary of its meaning. And finally, a decoder takes that summary and rebuilds the sentence word by word in the new language. But even NMT had a weakness. It kind of struggled with really long sentences. Sometimes it would just forget the beginning of the sentence by the time it got to the end. That all changed in 2017 with one of the most important research papers in AI history. And this is the paper. Attention is all you need. I mean, with a title like that, it has to be good, right? Well, it was. It introduced an idea called the transformer. And I am not exaggerating when I say this is now the foundation for almost all the AI you use every single day. So what's a transformer? At its core, it's a way for an AI to figure out which words in a sentence matter most at any given moment. And it does this using a brilliant technique called, you guessed it, an attention mechanism. The best way to think about it is like a spotlight. As the AI is writing the translation, this attention mechanism shines a spotlight back on the most relevant words in the original sentence. This is what keeps it from getting lost, and it's why today's AI can handle really long, complicated sentences without losing the plot. Now, as amazing as these AI models are, they're not perfect. Far from it. There are still some really big, fundamental challenges that researchers are trying to solve right now. One of the biggest issues has a pretty wild name: hallucination. This is what happens when the AI just goes rogue. It might invent stuff that wasn't there, or leave out critical details, or even just start translating into the wrong language altogether. As you can imagine, for anything important, this is a huge problem. And we're starting to figure out what triggers these hallucinations. Funny enough, both really short texts and really long texts can trip them up. Certain language pairs are also just tougher than others. And that last point is really interesting. Sometimes the very training methods used to make an AI more helpful can actually encourage it to make things up if it thinks that's what a good answer should look like. And there is another elephant in the room: data. These AIs learn from the internet. And the internet is overwhelmingly in English and a few other major languages. That means thousands of other languages are left behind, with way less data to learn from. The result? The quality of your translation often depends on how common your language is. But okay, despite all those challenges, you just can't deny how this technology has gone from a weird science experiment to a tool that billions of us use every single day to connect with each other. Which brings us right back here to today. You take all that history, 70 years of rules and statistics and neural networks and attention, and it all gets packed into the app in your hand. So this quote is just spot on. The next time you're traveling and you use your phone to read a sign or order coffee, just pause for a second. You're holding one of the most impressive AI systems ever made, the result of a decades-long quest to teach our language to a machine. And that leaves us with a really big question, doesn't it? As this technology just keeps getting better, we have to start asking, what happens to the world when language stops being a barrier? What does that mean for culture, for how we do business, for how we connect as people? That's the next chapter, and it's being written right now.